Good evening, you're watching TKC Daily, where we make sense of the global events with straight facts and sharp analysis. A very happy Friday. Congratulations, you have finally made it to the weekend. And to keep you updated, I have got a power-packed show for you tonight. First up, China strikes back with a massive 125% tariffs, putting Apple right in the middle of a global trade storm, and the EU now eyeing for big tech too. I will tell you everything. Then we dive into how Ukraine is winning the drone war against Russia. Meanwhile, Taiwan's internet lifeline is under threat. Is China really damaging its undersea cables? On the show, we also look into the historic military purge in China with Xi Jinping firing one of the country's most powerful generals. And finally, Australia is buying nuclear submarines. But why now? And what does it mean for the Indo-Pacific? Dear viewers, all this is lined up. Let's begin. High school fights are dramatic. Two kids bump into each other, words are exchanged, tempers rise, and suddenly it's not about the issue anymore. It's about the egos. Neither one wants to back down, neither one knows how to back down and when to back down. And the rest of the class, they are just standing there watching the show, amused, shocked, and wondering, where will this end? That's exactly what's happening in the world trade right now. The US and China, the world's two biggest economies, are in a full-blown fight. And in the last 24 hours, things got even more interesting. In response to US President Donald Trump's latest round of tariffs, China has fired back and fired back hard, slapping a massive 125% tariffs on all US goods. This brings the total effective tariffs on US 125% and on China 145%. And they are not done throwing punches. China's government called these US tariffs abnormally high, accusing Trump of violating international trade rules and engaging in unilateral bullying. They even said the tariff war has become a number game with no economic logic, a game they now refuse to keep playing. While Trump paused most tariffs for 90 days for other countries, China was excluded. In fact, their tariffs were increased instead. China didn't waste time in retaliating. They now curbed imports of Hollywood films and US soybeans, once America's biggest agricultural export to China. Meanwhile, as Trump rallies behind the dream of made in America iPhones, industry insiders are raising eyebrows. Experts argue that bringing Apple's production stateside is not only logistically daunting but also economically unviable in the short run. Manufacturing an iPhone isn't just about assembling parts. It's a massive supply chain operation involving hundreds of suppliers, precise tooling, and an army of specialized engineers. China's infrastructure, built over decades, simply cannot be replicated overnight, even if US tries its best. Even if Apple wanted to manufacture entirely in America, the cost of production would skyrocket. Estimates suggest that a US-made iPhone would cost you over $2,000. That's a tough sell even for the world's most loyal Apple fans. So while Trump dreams big, Apple seems firmly grounded. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the European Union is carefully playing its hand in the escalating trade standoff. After Trump's abrupt U-turn on tariffs, the EU has decided to hit pause on its own retaliatory measures, but only for 90 days, that equals to Trump's timeline. And if those talks didn't yield a result, big tech might be the first one to face the heat. EU Commissioner has told the Financial Times that if negotiations stall, the bloc is prepared to target US tech giants like Meta and Google. These companies could face new levies on advertising revenues, a strategic move designed to strike where it hurts. The markets are shift in Europe's trade strategy, moving beyond traditional goods into the digital economy. She said, and I quote, if negotiations are not satisfactory, our countermeasures will kick in. This is what she said to Financial Times. While she floated the idea of eliminating tariffs on industrial goods altogether, the US, Washington, isn't buying it, at least not yet. US officials argue that EU's non-tariff barriers like strict product regulations and VAT rules already disadvantage American companies. Complicating things further, the EU refuses to revisit its digital market rules, policies that United States officials claim unfairly target American firms. Still, talks are going on. EU Trade Chief Marcos confirmed that he is in regular contact and regular touch with his American counterpart. But with over 20 euros billion in potential tariffs on the table, including soybean, motorcycles, and cosmetics, the clock is ticking fast. And that's everything latest on Trump tariffs. We are tracking every single update on this. Stay connected as we decode the biggest financial events of our times. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, most analysts expected Ukraine to crumble under pressure. After all, Russia has a massive military, superior firepower, and a powerful defense industry. But what Russia didn't count was innovation, especially Ukraine's game-changing drone strategy. Ukraine knows it can't match Russia's tank-to-tank or missile-to-missile, so instead it's fighting smarter with a whole-of-nation approach to drone warfare. What does it mean? Let me tell you. It means the entire country is pitching in, not just the army or defense companies, startups, students, coders, even retirees and artists are working together to build drones, often using 3D printers and AI softwares. One startup, Klein Drones, has a team made up of a florist, a former dancer, a 77-year-old pensioner, and even a British veteran. It sounds unbelievable, but it's real. Back in 2022, Ukraine had only 4 drone manufacturers. Today, they are over 500, producing up to 5 million drones a year. That's an industrial miracle during wartime. And these aren't just small surveillance drones. Ukraine is developing long-range kamikaze drones that can strike 1,000 plus kilometers away, even deep inside Russia. On land, they're testing ground robots that deliver supplies under fire. At sea, their Sea Baby, the Magua naval drone, have attacked Russia's Black Sea fleet, sinking or damaging ships worth tens of millions of dollars. How interesting is that? What's impressive is how fast this ecosystem works. Soldiers test drones on the battlefield and give feedback instantly. Engineers update the design and new versions are deployed within days. That's very fast. It's like a real-time war-tech startup culture. Ukraine's Minister of Digital Transformation called this model, and I quote, defense tech democracy, where universities, startups, volunteers, and the government all collaborate together. A recent study by MIT and the Kiev School of Economics confirms that Ukraine is becoming a global leader in military drone innovation. That's a very big thing for a country in war. You see, Ukraine is showing the world that agility and innovation can't challenge brute forces. It's rewriting the rules of warfare, proving that brains, not just bombs, can shape the battlefield. In a war of missiles versus microchips, Ukraine is betting on the power of tech. And so far, it seems to be working. Let's now talk about a dramatic development in Taiwan-China standoff, and this time it's underwater. For the first time ever, Taiwan has officially charged a Chinese ship captain with intentionally damaging an undersea communication cable near the island. The man in question is Captain Wang, in charge of Hong Tai 58, a Chinese crewed ship flying a Tonga flag. Taiwanese authorities say this ship dropped anchor near a sensitive undersea cable off the island's southwest coast in February, and that anchor caused major damage. According to the Taiwanese prosecutors, Wang not only denied wrongdoing but also refused to share ownership details of vessels and allegedly showed a bad attitude during questioning. While the captain is being prosecuted, 7 other Chinese nationals on board have been released and will be sent back to China in the next few days. But you see, this case marks Taiwan's first criminal charge related to damaging sea cables, and the timing couldn't be more worse or more tense. This isn't an isolated incident, you see. Taiwan has recorded 5 undersea cable malfunctions this year alone, compared to just 3 in each of the last 2 years. And with China conducting frequent military drills, sending spy balloons, and building pressure in other grey zones, tactics, the pattern has become deeply concerning for Taipei. Now, Taiwan's Coast Guard is on high alert, even monitoring, and I quote, a blacklist of nearly 100 ships linked to China but sailing under different flags near to its water. But why does this matter? The most important question. Because undersea cable are Taiwan's lifeline to the world. They carry everything from internet traffic to financial data. Damaging them doesn't just disrupt services, it rattles national security. Taiwan suspects these disruptions, minor sometimes bigger, a playbook similar to what happened in the Baltic Sea during the early phases of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, where undersea infrastructure mysteriously failed amid rising tensions. This is very important. China, for its part, has denied all accusations, like always, accusing Taiwan of manipulating the fact. This is what they said, manipulating the fact. But with military aircrafts and warships constantly circling the island, and now even the ocean floor becoming a battleground, the message seems very clear. This is not just a standoff. This is a strategy of Chinese government. Staying with China, President Xi Jinping has just shaken the foundation of its largest military base. In the latest move of a sweeping anti-corruption purge, Xi has removed the second most powerful man in the Chinese army, General He Weidong. The decision is historic and it makes headline across the globe. General He Weidong wasn't just an officer, he was the vice chair of the Central Military Commission, the powerful body that controls the People's Liberation Army. This all makes this incident even more important. He was also a member of Communist Party's elite Politburo, but now he is out, dismissed quietly but deliberately. And the timing? Suspicious. For weeks, questions had been swirling. He skipped a major diplomatic meeting, missed a tree planting ceremony led by Xi Jinping himself, and was nowhere to be seen during events where top leaders were expected to show face. In China's tightly scripted political theater, absence is a red flag. While no official charges have been publicly announced, sources say the reason is corruption. The government statement used a familiar phrase, and I quote, serious violation of discipline. Serious violation of discipline. Code language that almost always points to financial misconduct, bribery, or abuse of power. This move comes just months after another high-ranking military official, Mia Hua, was also removed under similar circumstances where he was seen nowhere. Both men were part of Central Military Commission, suggesting the rot might run deeper than initially believed. Neil Thomas, an expert on Chinese politics, says the removal is significant. He said, and I quote, the fact that Xi can purge a CMC vice chair shows just how serious and personal this anti-corruption campaign has become. It's not just about cleaning up the system, it's about tightening control. He adds that Xi wants the PLA not only to be effective globally force, but also a loyal infrastructure, loyal instrument of his domestic authority. Loyal comes first, then comes the competence. This is what Thomas said. He's expert on Chinese affairs. According to a 2023 report by the US government, China's military has been plagued by internal corruption, potentially showing its plan to modernize 2027. They want to modernize by 2027, but this is doing them. Between July and December last year, at least 15 senior military officials and defense executives were removed. 15. Many have links to China's rocket force and defense tech sectors, both critical of Beijing's military ambitions. For Xi Jinping, corruption isn't just a problem, it's a threat to his authority. And as this purge continues, one message is very loud and clear. It's loud and clear that in Xi Jinping's China, even the most powerful generals are dispensable if they fall out of the line. Australia is diving deep into nuclear waters. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has confirmed that Australia is buying 3 US nuclear-powered submarines under the AUKUS Pact. What is his message? It's very clear. This isn't just about defense. It's about deterrence, strength, and strategic alignment with the West. But there is a storm brewing. The deal, once seen as a cornerstone of America's security, is now under scrutiny in Washington itself, in the United States itself. You see, Trump's return to the spotlight has reawakened America's tariff wars, and with it, doubts over whether AUKUS still aligns with US interests comes into circulation. The doubts are piling that AUKUS is it still true to its objective. Some US defense officials worry that handing over subs to Australia might actually weaken Australia's deterrence against whom? Against China. You see, the concern is very clear. The concern is Canberra's hesitance to even talk about using these submarines offensively against China when the times come. If they want to be the part of forward posture in Asia, why sacrifice American asset? The Pentagon has set a deadline, that's 2027, that's when US forces must be ready to face a potential conflict with China. The subs in question would leave the US fleet, and every ship counts in such situation, and Washington knows this. And is Australia truly committed to what they said earlier? That is the question. Albanese, campaigning in Darwin, is standing firm. We are investing in our assets to be more secure. Nuclear submarines have stealth capabilities. That's why we support them, he said. This is what he said during a campaign. Pressed on whether Australia would consider their offensive use, Albanese replied, "It's not responsible to talk up war." There's also money on the line. Australia must pay $2 billion by 2025 to support American shipyards. And with Trump back in the White House, the price tag could climb. Still, the opposition isn't buying Albanese's confidence. Peter Dutton, the leader of the Liberal Party and the opposition party, says that government has raided other parts of the defense budget to fund AUKUS, this very thing that we are talking about, and it's not enough. He said, and I quote, "If the Americans and Brits think we are not serious, why would they proceed with it?" This is what he asked further. He argues that nuclear submarines make Australia a stronger, more reliable partner, not just for Five Eyes, but for India, Japan, and Philippines too. At stakes is more than just submarines. We try to understand. It's Australia's future role in the Indo-Pacific. AUKUS is not just a defense agreement. It's a declaration that Australia wants to be on the table when decisions about the region's future are made. And we are signing off this week's concluding episode with some good news. The UK economy has surprised analysts by growing 0.6% in February quarter, bouncing back from a flat January. The boost came mainly from a surge in manufacturing and steady growth in construction and services. It is a win for British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, offering a glimpse of hope in uncertain global times. And that's all I have for you on the show tonight. Now I will see you on Monday. Take care, good night, and have a great weekend.